Alright, let's make this quick and easy. I have never read books. I spend most of my time playing games, and right now, I want to read a good story. And that story that we're going to be talking about today is The Blood Meridian, written by Cormac McCarthy. Now, there's only one reason why I chose this book, and that's because of the judge. I have only seen him through edits, and he's always paired with the other two books, All Tomorrows and the AI one, yes, from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And I wonder, what could this bold man actually do so that he would be listed in one of the top 3 worst villains, one of the most evil characters in fiction. So yeah, I'm genuinely curious to see what's up with this bold dude and how we're going to do this. Basically, I'll just be reading one chapter of this book. I know they don't traditionally use chapters, but there are segments in this book where things happen, and I'm just going to read one of those in the beginning. And while also doing that, I'm also going to be talking and expressing my opinions about it. Yeah, let's get into it. See the child? He is pale and thin. Already off to a bad start. He wears a thin and ragged linen shirt. He stokes the scullery fire. Outside lie dark-turned fields with rags of snow and darker woods beyond that harbor yet a few last wolves. His folk are known for hewers of wood and drawers of water, but in truth, his father has been a schoolmaster. He lies in drink. He quotes from poets whose names are now lost. The boy crouches by the fire and watches him. Alright, it seems like this story is going to be focusing on this child, and to be honest, I'm actually a little bit worried. I heard a lot of crazy things happen in this book, and if the main protagonist is still a kid, yeah man, this might be a tough one for me. The mother, dead these 14 years, did incubate in her own bosom the creature who would carry her off. The father never speaks her name. The child does not know it. He has a sister in this world that he will not see again. He watches pale and unwashed. He can neither read nor write, and in him brews already a taste for mindless violence. All history present in that visage. The child, the father of the man. Very interesting. It seems like the mother died from giving birth to him. I think that's the implication. He can neither read nor write, and in him broods already a taste for mindless violence. So, at a very young age, he already has this hunger to commit mindless violence. Now I understand this kid, he's not really right in the mind. He has a problem within himself. At 14, he runs away. He will not see again the freezing kitchen house in the pre-dawn dark, the firewood, the washpots. He wanders west as far as Memphis, a solitary migrant upon that flat and pastoral landscape. Blacks in the field, lank and stoop, their fingers spider-like among the balls of cotton, a shadowed agony in the garden, against the sun's declining figures moving in the shower, dusk across a paper skyline. A lone dark husbandman pursuing meal, and harrowed down the rain-blown bottomland toward night. Okay, that was a mouthful. Oh, and one more important thing. I just want to let you guys know I'm not American. Yes, I'm not American. So if you ask me where Memphis is, I have no clue at all. It appears the city of Memphis is located in the state of Tennessee. Very interesting. We're learning a lot about American stuff in this Western novel. And another thing about American stuff is the description of blacks in the fields. I think this is referring to black slaves. They had a lot of them at that time. It appears that the boy, he ran away at the age of 14, at a very young age. I'm not so sure why. It doesn't say so here. It appears he just has to run away. I think that's the fate of most young kids at that time. A year later, he is in San Luis. Again, I don't know where that is, but he is taken on for New Orleans aboard a flatboat, 42 days on the river. At night, the steamboats hoot and trudge past through the black waters, all alight like cities adrift. They break up the float and sell the lumber, and he walks in the streets and hears tongues he has not heard before. He lives in a room above a courtyard behind a tavern, and he comes down at night like some fairy book beast to fight with the sailors. He is not big, but he has big wrists, big hands. His shoulders are set close. The child's face is curiously untouched behind his scars, the eyes oddly innocent. They fight with fists, with feet, with bottles or knives, all races, all breeds, men whose speech sounds like the grunting of apes, men from lands so far and queer that standing over them, where they lie, bleeding in the mud, he feels mankind itself vindicated. I want to know why he's heading to New Orleans. Is there a specific reason for him to head there? Also, this description of the child is very interesting, as it says he's not that big, but he has big hands. His face, it seems like he has gone through a lot of fighting along the way. It has been a year since he left. On a certain night, a Maltese boatswain shoots him in the back with a small pistol. Swinging to deal with the man, he is shot again just below the heart. The man flees, and he leans against the bar with the blood running out of his shirt. The others look away. After a while, he sits in the floor. What is wrong with this kid? Why is he getting himself into a lot of these fights? He just got shot right below his heart. And what for? Why does he do this? Why does he treat himself like this? Most of the people at the bar just ignored a child as he bleeds on the floor. Man, this is crazy. He lies in a cot in the room upstairs for 2 weeks while the tavern keeper's wife attends him. She brings his meals. She carries out his slops. A hard-looking woman with a wiry body like a man's. By the time he is mended, he has no money to pay her, and he leaves in the night and sleeps on the riverbank until he can find a boat that will take him on. The boat is going to Texas. I understand that he's just a kid and he has no money to repay this woman even if he wanted to. But if I were him, I would try to find a way to repay her. I think this kid doesn't know where he's going. Seriously, I thought he actually had a plan, at least a destination that he's trying to go towards. But through these implications, it appears he's a little bit lost right now. He has no clue where he's going, and he's just beating random people up. Only now is the child finally divested of all that he has been. His origins are become remote, as is his destiny, and not again in all the world's turning will there be terrains so wild and barbarous to try whether the stuff of creation may be shaped to man's will, or whether his own heart is not another kind of clay. The passengers are a different lot. They cage their eyes, and no man asks another what is it that brings him here. He sleeps on the deck, a pilgrim among others. He watches the dim shore rise and fall. Gray seabirds gawking, flights of pelicans coastwise above the gray swells. So this kid, he has no future for himself. He's just going down this dark and barbaric path. He's essentially lost. They disembark abroad a lighter, settlers with their chattels, all studying the low coastline, the thin bite of sand, and scrub pine swimming in the haze. He walks through the narrow street of the port. The air smells of salt and new sawn lumber. At night, horrors called to him from the dark, like souls in want. A week and he is on the move again. A few dollars in his purse that he's earned, walking the sand roads of the southern night alone. His hands balled in the cotton pockets of his cheap coat. Earthen causeways across the marshland. Egrets in their rookeries white as candles among the moss. The wind has a raw edge to it, and leaves lope by the roadside and skelter on the night fields. He moves north through small settlements and farms, working for day wages and found. He sees a parasite hanged in the crossroads hamlet, and the man's friend run forward and pulled his legs, and he hangs dead from his rope, while urine darkens his trousers. He works in a sawmill. He works in a diphtheria pest house. He takes as pay from a farmer an aged mule and a backless animal in the spring of the year 1849. He rides up through the latter-day Republic of Fredonia into the town of Nacogdoches. So essentially this kid is going town to town trying to find jobs so that he can, survive all by himself. I mean, this is what happens when you leave your parents. He has to stand on his own feet now. The Reverend Green had been playing to a full house daily as long as the rain had been falling, and the rain had been falling for 2 weeks. When the kid ducked into the ratty canvas tent, there was a standing room along the walls, a place or two, and such a heady reek of the wet and bathless that they themselves would sally forth into the downpour now and again for fresh air before the rain drove them in again. He stood with others of his kind along the back wall. The only thing that might have distinguished him in that crowd was that he was not armed. "Neighbors," said the Reverend, "he couldn't stay out of these here hellholes right here in Nacogdoches. I said to him, you going to take the Son of God in there with ye? And he said, oh no, I ain't. And I said, don't you know that he said I will follow ye always even onto the end of the road?" Okay, that was just my little American accent I attempted to use on. Yeah, you can make fun of me for trying to make it immersive for you guys, but I'm trying my best, guys. Well, he said, I ain't asking nobody to go nowheres. And I said, neighbor, you don't need to ask. He's a-going to be there with you every step of the way, whether ye asked it or ye don't. I said, neighbor, you can't get shed of him. Now, are you going to drag him into that hellhole yonder? Do you ever see such a place for rain? Okay, it seems like this kid wandered off into a sermon of sorts in this town of Nacogdoches. And this reverend is currently, preaching about God. Maybe this kid needs to hear a word or two. I mean, he doesn't seem like he knows where he's going with his life. Maybe a little guidance could, change that. The kid had been watching the reverend. He turned to the man who spoke. He wore long mustaches after the fashion of teamsters, and he wore a wide brim hat with a low round crown. He was slightly walleyed, and he was watching the kid earnestly, as if he'd know his opinion about the rain. I just got here, said the kid. Well, it beats all I've ever seen. The kid nodded. An enormous man, dressed in an oilcloth slicker, had entered the tent and removed his hat. He was bald, as a stone, and he had no trace of a beard, and he had no brows to his eyes, nor lashes to them. He was close on to 7 feet in height, and he stood smoking a cigar, even in this nomadic house of God, and he seemed to have removed his hat, only to chase the rain from it, for now he put it on again. Wait a minute, hold on for a second. Is this the judge? He gets introduced so early. Not that I'm complaining or anything like that, but now I'm worried, is he going to do something to the kid? Maybe it's just, just a little introduction before he does something crazy. Maybe he won't do anything at this moment. Hopefully so. The Reverend had stopped his sermon altogether. There was no sound in the tent. All watched the man. He adjusted the hat and then pushed his way forward as far as the crateboard pulpit where the Reverend stood, and there he turned to address the Reverend's congregation. His face was serene and strangely childlike. His hands were small. He held them out. "Ladies and gentlemen, I feel it my duty to inform you that the man holding this revival is an impostor. He holds no papers of divinity from any institution recognized or improvised. He is altogether devoid of the least qualifications to the office he has usurped, and has only committed to memory a few passages from the good book for the purpose of lending to his fraudulent sermons some faint flavors of the piety he despises. In truth, the gentleman standing here before you, posing as a minister of the Lord, is not only totally illiterate, but is also wanted by the law in the states of Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Arkansas." "Oh God," cried the Reverend. "Lies, lies." He began reading feverishly from his open Bible on a variety of charges, the most recent of which involved a girl of 11 years. Said 11 had come to him in trust, and whom he was surprised in the act of violating while actually clothed in the livery of his God. A moan swept through the crowd. A lady sank to her knees. "This is him," cried the Reverend, sobbing. "This is him, the devil. Here he stands. Let's hang that turd," called an ugly thug from the gallery to the rear. Not 3 weeks before this, he was run out of Fort Smith, Arkansas, for having congress with a goat. Yes, lady, that is what I said. Goat. "Why, my damn eyes if I won't shoot this son of a bitch," said a man rising from the far side of the tent, and drawing a pistol from his boot, he leveled it and fired. Okay, there's a lot of things happening right now. A lot of things. I take back what I said, that this kid should listen a word or two from this guy, as clearly this guy is insane. This guy's not qualified for any of that. He shouldn't be near any kid, and I regret saying that the kid should listen to this guy, as he clearly, just as revealed by the judge, he has done very bad things to an 11-year-old, and even a goat. Wow, that's the Wild West for you. The young teamster instantly produced a knife from his clothing and unseamed the tent and stepped outside into the rain. The kid followed. They ducked low and ran across the mud toward the hotel. Already gunfire was general within the tent, and a dozen exits had been hacked through the canvas walls, and people were pouring out, women screaming, folk stumbling, folk trampled underfoot in the mud. The kid and his friend reached the hotel gallery and wiped the water from their eyes and turned to watch. The bald-headed man was already at the bar when they entered. On the polished wood before him were 2 hats and a double handful of coins. He raised his glass, but not to them. They stood up to the bar and ordered whiskeys, and the kid laid his money down, but the barman pushed it back with his thumb and nodded. "These here is on the judge," he said. They drank. The teamster set his glass down and looked at the kid, or he seemed to. You couldn't be sure of his gaze. The kid looked down the bar to where the judge stood. The bar was that tall, not every man could even get his elbow up on it, but it came just to the judge's waist, and he stood with his hands placed flatwise on the wood, leaning slightly as if about to give another address. But now men were piling through the doorway, bleeding, covered in mud, cursing. They gathered about the judge. A pause was being drawn to pursue the preacher. "Judge, how did you come to have the goods on that no account?" "Goods?" said the judge. "When was you in Fort Smith?" "Fort Smith? Where did you know him to know all that stuff on him?" "You mean the Reverend Green?" "Yes, sir. I reckon you was in Fort Smith for ye come out here. I was never in Fort Smith in my life. Doubt that he was. They looked from one to another. Well, where was it you run up on him? I never laid eyes on the man before today. Never even heard of him. He raised his glass and drank. There was a strange silence in the room. The man looked like mud effigies. Finally, someone began to laugh. Then another. Soon, they were all laughing together. Someone bought the judge a drink. So you're telling me the judge never heard or seen the Reverend at all in his life, and says that he made congress with a goat or touched a child, causing the public to become angry and beat up this guy or kill him. And he's just doing this for no reason. He's just doing this for the fun of it. That was a very crazy introduction to a character. But I guess it's Judge Holden after all. I can't imagine what the rest of the book will be. Guys, I know that I said that I would try my best to read Chapter 1 of Blood Meridian, but I severely overestimated my abilities to read. So I'm going to have to end the video right now. But fear not, as in the next upload, I would have read the entire book completely, and then I'll talk about it. All in all, stay safe and have a good day, guys.